Welcome to the Economy Magazine at I-24 News, where we provide a daily view on world markets and the global economy. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Today, we'll take a special look at the world of startups and high technology. We are joined on set by our intrepid reporters, Shelby, Weiner, and Daniel Roth. Thank you very much for being with us. First, let's get a snapshot of the startup culture worldwide. It seems major global cities across the world these days are trying to position themselves as major startup hubs, Tel Aviv included. Well, Compass recently released a global ranking. Shelby Weiner now takes a closer look at that criteria.
From Silicon Valley to Tel Aviv, the startup sector is booming. Compass took a look at the hottest startup ecosystems and released a ranking based on 5 key points: funding, performance, market reach, talent, and startup experience. The report classified the top 20 startup communities around the globe. Unsurprisingly, the California Tech Hub maintained its top spot. But international businesses are slowly drifting to new markets.
When you're a foreign business, French or otherwise, you come to Silicon Valley. It's difficult. Nobody knows you. You might not have the same means as your American counterparts.
A main critique of the report is the flagrant absence of the major startup capitals found in the Far East. Countries like South Korea, Taiwan, and China are crucial players on the global startup stage.
The world has shifted. It's no longer about Silicon Valley, and Asia's playing a massive part in the future.
The report instead highlights the USA, giving America the top 4 slots. NYC bumped Tel Aviv out of its prize spot at number 2. But Tel Aviv remains a strong leader in the startup sector. In just the last year, reports show a 65% growth in funding for the Middle Eastern city, a reason why many startups still look to Israel.
Tel Aviv was the perfect place to launch our beta test, to launch our proof of concept, to prove that we really have a product, that there's a serious demand for it.
Tel Aviv's demotion may be due to the survey's format. The number of startups per capita was removed from the criteria and is one of the city's biggest assets. After launching in the rich startup incubator, companies begin to have international dreams as well.
Hopefully the next stage will be taking it to the US and expanding to other markets.
Many startups move to bigger American markets after raising seed money, skewing the numbers towards the US. But whatever the reasons may be, Tel Aviv now must play the comeback kid. And though the White City gets the lion's share of the startup investment, Israel's capital is also making inroads. For the first time in the global startup ecosystem ranking, Jerusalem cracked the list of top 50 cities for its own thriving startup ecosystem. Israel boasts that the country invests almost 5% of its GDP into research and development, the highest ratio in the world. And that investment seems to continue to pay dividends for the startup nation.
For further insight on the topic, we are now joined back with Shelby Weiner and Daniel Roth. Well, interesting here that Tel Aviv got bumped down from its prize number 2 spot, kicked out by New York City. So what's going on here? Is this New York strengthening its innate muscle?
Well, we have to take a look at many factors. And while New York is definitely on the rise and growing, they also changed some of the criteria, so it really affected the results of the findings.
I see. What do you think are some of the most important criteria here?
I think what's really important is to look at investment and to look at the actual products coming out. Because if you don't have good product, you don't have good ideas, it really doesn't matter what kind of ecosystem is there.
All right. Well, Daniel, speaking about this bump here that we saw in New York City advancing past Tel Aviv according to this ranking, do you think Israeli community, the startup community here, should be concerned?
Not exactly. I think the reality is that New York City is New York City. It is, they like to say they're the center of the universe, and from a financial point of view, it's not true. Tel Aviv, Israel, its startup niche is really as a laboratory, as an experimental zone. And so it makes sense that New York City would be the behemoth, would be the big anchor at the center of the startup world, alongside Silicon Valley, of course. And Tel Aviv might be hovering sort of around there as a major hub, but as a laboratory, a place for experimentation, not quite on Broadway.
Right, they don't have quite the same resources that New York City would just innately have, being the financial capital for many. Many perceive it as the financial capital of the world. And just also, how important are these rankings to investors?
I don't think that it actually plays a role in investment. It's definitely something that gets thought about, but at the end of the day, the investors are looking at the product and is it marketable?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, product, who's running the business, that makes up a lot of the research. Who's actually in there? Can you trust the people to carry forward a solid product? Those are the main factors.
All right. Well, staying on that topic of investment, Shelby, you recently sat down with Magma Venture Partners, a leading venture capital firm here in Israel.
Yeah, I got a chance to sit and meet with them and talk about what exactly it's like being a VC in Israel and how that plays into the startup ecosystem here.
All right. Well, let's take a look at that interview.
Thank you so much for having me here today. Let's talk a little bit about Magma and what kind of companies you work with.
Welcome to Magma. We're a venture capital fund. We're in the business since 1999, so 16 years in the investment and venture business. We're now in our fourth fund. Magma 4 that we started investing late last year, early this year, 2015. We manage around over $500 million under management. We believe that you really have to understand your business, so we are focused on what we call TMT, or ICT, Information Communication Technology. We started off as the leading fund in communications, and that was in 99-2000. And at that time, there was a very clear distinction between communication and IT, information technology. And today, it's very, very difficult to distinguish.
And so what does it mean to be a VC in Israel?
Israel is an amazing place for technology. It's a phenomenal situation here. Before I'll dive into what it is in Israel, I'll give you some sense as to Israel as part of the world in technology and venture. Israel is around 4% of all venture dollars for the past 10 years on the dollar side. So compared to the U.S., it's around 10. It's somewhere around 10% of the U.S. Quite consistently. But it's very, very significant in terms of its relative, of course, to the population. So it's a factor of somewhere around 60 on the ratio between investments and relative population. There's only one other place that is more distinguished, which is California. So if you take California population and have the factor of the investments, that's a 100x on the relative impact. However, Israel is still unique in the sense, and even more so, in its being the other place outside of the U.S. and outside of California that on a repeatable basis, on a continuous basis, disruptive technologies are being generated. There are several spaces where Israel is a leader. And what are those spaces? And I think that's important because I think that touches upon the point of the future and where things will evolve. Clearly, in terms of cybersecurity, Israel has a significant knowledge base and an advantage. And there are over 300 startups in the cybersecurity space, and it's just expanding. The other area that is very similar, by the way, in terms of technology, underlying technology for cybersecurity, and where Israel is also a leader, is related to advertising technologies and technologies addressing the publishers. There are hundreds of CEOs, I think anywhere between 150 to 200 CEOs of Israeli companies in the advertising technology in New York. In New York alone, companies such as Outbrain and Taboola and Kaltura.
Speaking of some of the businesses that came out of Tel Aviv, Waze, the major unicorn, worked with your company. How did that partnership form and how did it evolve along the way?
Waze is clearly a game changer in the Israeli high tech. It's a game changer due to the outcome. We've never seen a company reaching the value of over $1 billion in such a short period of time. And the key here is addressing the consumer space. So we were sort of pioneers as Magma in believing that Israel is not only a place for developing deep technology and being the technology under the hood, but also the whole component. The team came over and we just loved the concept and we loved the guys. It was an interesting development. It was a competitive deal. There was good chemistry, and we moved on that very, very quickly. And that's you don't always have to be the first guys to get the deal. You have to be the first guys to close the deal. And we were very, very fortunate to work with such a capable team.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
In addition to being an early backer of Waze, Magma has invested in Hola, another successful Israeli startup, and Shelby had the chance to sit down with the founder.
Thank you so much for being here today. Let's start with talking about Magma and how you and your company have been working with them.
Hola is the third company that I've founded, and when I was raising capital for Hola, Magma was the first investor that stepped forward and decided to fund what we were planning to do.
Ola and Magma have been working together for a few years. How does that relationship grow and work together?
Initially, when you approach an investor, it's you're basically looking for money to put together your vision and to hire people and to make it happen. And as the partnership becomes stronger, then a lot of times the investors have a deeper role in the company, whether through strategic thinking or introductions to other people in the market. So that's definitely been the case with Magma.
And what is it like having your company based in Israel?
I didn't make the decision to start my company in Israel. I just live here. And I wanted to start the company, so I did. There are definitely challenges to it. I spend every summer in the Silicon Valley, and over there it seems that everything's running like at the speed of light, and you can meet people breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which are very relevant to your business. And every time I'm there, I understand my business way better, and I'm able to do more. I guess there's also an advantage of being here. Well, maybe not compared to the Silicon Valley. Maybe the Silicon Valley is just better. But there's an abundance of talent here, and there's an abundance of venture capital here. So it was actually very easy for me to start the company here, aside from living here. So easy for me to hire good people, easy for me to raise money from good VCs, and then I have to travel a lot to the Silicon Valley.
Tell me a little bit about the technology behind Hola.
Hola is such a business where we sat around in 2008, me and my co-founder, and we said, you know what, the internet infrastructure should be totally different. It should not be servers and routers. It should be a peer-to-peer platform where people are the nodes in the network. The traffic is flowing through the people. It's very, very disruptive. It's a very different kind of thinking. There is no business model for that. But you say, you know what, the internet will be better if it works this way. It'll be faster. It'll be more open. It'll be more transparent. It'll be cheaper to operate. And so we basically built out that technology. It took us 4 years. And then we started releasing our product. So now we've released a product based on this technology every year since. It's 3 product lines now. And each of them are disrupting a different marketplace.
And what is Ola planning for the future? What are the next steps for the company?
I think we'll probably be releasing a new product every year based on this technology. So we've basically disrupted, we built a disruptive technology one time, this peer-to-peer network, and now there's a ton of stuff you can do on it.
And thank you so much for speaking with me today.
My pleasure.
Well, Shelby, what is the final word now out on Hola?
Well, while I was there speaking with him, I got a bit of the inside scoop on their business, which they just came out and announced. They've raised $17 million in their Series C fundraising, and they're getting ready to roll out the next line of their product, which is video distribution. And that's going to really change the market on how we work on the internet.
Well, it will be really fascinating to see as this develops further, and I'm sure you'll follow it for us. That wraps up our show today. Stay tuned every day from the Jaffa Port in Tel Aviv. I'm Natalie Ehrlich. Thank you very much for watching.